Hey guys, I just wanted to come on here real quick and give you my review of Wonder Woman 1984. I just saw it Christmas Day in an actual theater, and I'm recording the review the same day. So, first of all, I would like to say that I was disappointed with the movie. I thought it was an interesting concept to call it Wonder Woman 1984 rather than some generic title Wonder Woman 2. And the trailer looked interesting, but there were a number of reasons that I came away disappointed. So let's get right into it. First, the movie was just too long. It has a running time of 2 hours and 31 minutes. Now, don't get me wrong, I sat through 4 hours of The Irishman, and I sat through 2.5 hours of The Rise of Skywalker. Didn't have a problem with that, but this movie just seemed to drag in too many places. The movie spent an incredible amount of time on the so-called villain Max Lord and his travels all over the world, giving people wishes and getting something in return, on and on and on. And frankly, I found that whole storyline boring and uninteresting. And there were times, I tell you, I literally was nodding off with this guy's storyline. I didn't pay to see this guy. I paid to see Wonder Woman and the introduction of the Kristen Wiig character and their little cat and mouse game and their adversarial relationship, etc. And we really didn't get them clashing until probably a good 2/3 into the movie. And that's just taking too long. In fact, you could have completely removed this guy Max Lord from the movie, left his 1 hour of boredom on the cutting room floor, and kept an hour and a half of Wonder Woman and Kristen Wiig. And that probably would have been a much more enjoyable movie. And this leads me to the next point. The so-called villain, Max Lord, was a horrible villain. He wasn't cool, he wasn't clever, he was just pretty much a jerk. I mean, some villains are actually likable in a certain weird way, like a Joker, or Freddy Krueger, or Hannibal Lecter, or Magneto. But there was very little I enjoyed about this guy. And to me, he just brought the movie down. And I also really didn't resonate with his relationship with his son. I thought it was terribly contrived and it just was not believable. Next, not enough action. Yes, they had this, I'll call it an opening sequence in the mall, and the thieves and the lasso and everything. And this was okay. They had this chase scene or convoy scene, as you might want to call it, with the trucks flipping over, etc., and that was okay, but the action was frankly few and far between. So I guess they were going to feature her lasso in this movie, and frankly, I don't find the lasso to be that amazing a weapon. Now you're going to say, well, Thor just has a hammer. Okay, but even he does some intriguing things with just a hammer. And to be fair, she did have a pretty cool shield in the first movie and in the Justice League, and I had to actually just go back and confirm that because, I didn't see no shield in this movie. So apparently they made a decision. They just weren't going to go with the shield in this movie, and they were going to go with the lasso. So, maybe they felt they had gone as far as they could with the shield. I mean, she also has that, I'll call it like a cross gauntlet move, and she used that like once. She used the invisibility power. We now learn she can fly. But to be honest, none of that was exciting to me. She had a scuffle with Kristen Wiig in the hallway. I think that was the White House. And then she had the big fight at the end with Kristen Wiig. But to be honest, that big fight wasn't all that memorable to me. And to be honest, the scuffle in the hallway was far more intriguing and compelling and memorable to me than the so-called climactic big fight. So that was a disappointment. Next, the movie was called Wonder Woman 1984, but the concept that it was 1984 turned out to be relatively inconsequential. Now, going by the trailer, there was a ton of 80s music and this extended scene with Chris Pine trying on these 1984 clothes for Wonder Woman, and it was a little comedic and all that, and so I think we were led to believe, hey, this is going to be really intriguing, tying 1984 into the movie. Well, as it turned out, 1984 had very little to do with the movie. Aside from her going to this, grand gala, and yes, they were playing 1984 music, and you had this scene with Chris Pine trying on the outfits, which, by the way, we already saw in the trailer. There was very little else to do with 1984. Now, the wardrobe designer is probably going to push back and say, now hold on. Everybody in the movie was wearing authentic 1984 wardrobe, etc., etc. And to be fair, probably all the cars we saw in the movie were from 1984. Really wasn't paying attention to that. Irrelevant. But let's face it, this movie could well have taken place in 2020, and it really wouldn't have changed a damn thing. So I feel largely misled how the movie was marketed as a movie that was going to rely heavily on 1984. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to point out is that the resolution at the end was just unrealistic to me. The idea that things would turn into quote-unquote normal relied on literally billions of people to a person being people of integrity, and that every last person was going to renounce their wish. I mean, that's just not believable. You mean out of all the billions of people, there wasn't one person who said, I'm good. I'm going to keep. I think I'm just going to keep things the way they are for now. And frankly, I didn't feel Max Lord went through enough of an arc to give up his power. And frankly, I didn't feel that Kristen Wiig went through enough of an arc for her to want to give up her wish and her power and all that. So I was somewhat surprised that she actually gave up her power. And I guess the notion was that Max Lord gave it all up to save his son, though, frankly, to be fair, he hadn't shown this boy an ounce of compassion for 2 hours and 29 minutes, so I just didn't find that believable. Okay guys, so there were other points I didn't like, but those are my main points. I want to keep this brief. If you have anything you'd like to add, please comment down below, but otherwise I will see you again next time. Bye bye.